Hey guys, Emre here from High Ground. So Horizon Zero Dawn from Guerrilla Games is celebrating its 1 year anniversary. So I thought in honor of that I would give my thoughts on why I think it's one of the best open world games. Now I thought I would first give you my quick thoughts on some of the popular open world games out there, just to show you my history with the genre and why I think Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best in this category. I honestly think most developers besides Rockstar can't really do open worlds that well. For example, Just Cause 3 was just a very generic looking world and it was mostly empty and not really a lot of things to do. The gameplay in the game was still fun though. And then we have the Assassin's Creed series, which I know is one of the more popular non-Rockstar open world games out there, but I still think the gameplay falls flat in those games. I think those games don't really control well. Most of what you do in those maps aren't really fun. And I think the mission designs aren't really that great either. Now Ubisoft's other open world series, Far Cry, is a lot better, but one of the major things that series lacks is interesting looking open worlds. I mean, if you look at Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, the open world maps are a bit generic. It's just two big environments where a lot of it just looks the same. At least with Assassin's Creed they get the environments right. And Ubisoft's third open world series, Watch Dogs, we won't really get into that now, that's just a totally different discussion. And also I do have Nintendo Switch and I did play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. While I did enjoy the game mostly, I do think the game is overrated. I think there is a lot of odd design choices in that game. I also think the open world in Breath of the Wild wasn't very interesting, to be honest. And while the combat was great, I was always disheartened to fight the enemies because of how quickly your weapons would break. But I did enjoy doing all the shrines in the game. I managed to complete about 70 of them. But again, I just don't think the open world in Zelda Breath of the Wild is interesting. A lot of it is empty, and the side activities weren't really fun in my opinion, I just ignored them. Now let's get to Bethesda's open world games. Now look, I personally have never touched Fallout 3 or Fallout 4, but I did play a ton of Skyrim over the years. Now my problem with Skyrim is that the gameplay is just very underwhelming. I don't like the combat in the game, the magic feels underpowered. The world is also kind of boring, to be honest, and it's not really a world you would want to explore. The places you discover just seem lifeless, and I also think visually the game just looks ugly, to be honest. I know the game is about 7 years old now, but even in like 2011 or 2012, I just didn't really think the game looked that great. I also don't like the fact that a lot of the quests require you to go into these dungeons and caves. The caves were just really boring and depressing in my opinion. And after playing Skyrim, I look at the Fallout series, Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 specifically, and realize it follows a lot of the same formula as Skyrim, which makes me not want to play them, to be honest. But I still do enjoy playing Skyrim. Once I sit down and actually play the game, I do get addicted to the endless quest lines. Now, The Witcher 3 is one of the better open world games out there, and it is one of my favourite games of all time now. The story is interesting, the gameplay feels great, the magic is satisfying, the combat is satisfying, leveling up your character feels satisfying, and although there is still a bit of stiffness to how Geralt controls in that game, the game still manages to feel very smooth. And also, the world just looks beautiful. It doesn't have that grey to brown aesthetic that Skyrim has. And also, the cities in the game are pretty impressive and kind of mind-blowing, just because of their scale and how much detail was put into them. And all I'll say about Rockstar's open world games is that they always manage to make the Grand Theft Auto games very mind-blowing, detailed and innovative. And of course Red Dead Redemption was a pretty special game when it was first released. And their open worlds are always impressive in their scale and just how realistic they seem. And they always have interesting characters in their games with very well written dialogue. But I do not need to explain those to you, I'm sure most of you know Rockstar's games very well. So those are my quick thoughts on all the popular open world games out there. I will now explain how Horizon Zero Dawn stands as an open world game, and how it handles some of the elements I mentioned in those other games, and also what it does better than the other games in the genre. First of all, the world in Horizon Zero Dawn has a very unique look to it. It does not look generic, it's well thought out, it looks beautiful, it's colourful. The look of the world changes as you are exploring it. You are not seeing the same environment over and over again. There's desert areas, there's snowy areas, some parts of the map have taller grassy fields, some parts of the map have flat terrain. There is enough variety in the environments to not make it feel boring and generic. I also think the story is good enough to keep you interested, and Aloy is actually a very charming character. But what Horizon does really well above all those things is it gets its gameplay right. First of all, the controls in the game just feel so comfortable and intuitive. And when you are controlling Aloy, you never feel like you are pushing a very heavy boulder like you do in the Assassin's Creed games. And you always feel like your character is moving very swiftly. The bow and arrow controls are some of the best in gaming. Fighting the machines in the game also just feels very exhilarating. And the way all the machines animate in the game just feels so realistic. And because of all the great animations in the game feels very cinematic, especially when you are in combat. And I do think it's one of the most cinematic feeling open world games. I also think the game is fairly easy, which allows the game to appeal to a broader audience. And also the RPG and crafting elements in the game feel arcadey enough to not make them feel overwhelming. Now, I do have quite a few negative things to say about Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't think Horizon Zero Dawn is a perfect game by any means. I don't even think it's a masterpiece, to be honest. It just doesn't quite reach those levels. First of all, while the story is well written and interesting, I still don't think it's that great, to be honest. It still feels like a story that's set up to build a game premise, like an excuse to just have you fight these machines in the game. And also, I do think some of the machines were a bit too difficult to fight, such as the rock breakers who just kept digging and going underground, and it just became tedious. And also, fighting the Stormbirds were annoying, they just kept flying all over the place. And I do think some of the machines were a bit too fast when they were fighting in combat, which just made the combat very tiring at times. I also think the game is sorely missing a way to defend yourself or to block attacks, even from human enemies. I also didn't like any of the clothing you purchased from the merchants. None of the clothing really seemed cool. I also didn't think any of the side characters besides Aloy were interesting. The story missions got a little boring and repetitive towards the end when you were exploring those ruins. I also think the troll missions weren't really fun, and the machines and other wildlife in the game would drop the items you wanted very infrequently. And also, I just think the fast travel should have been free from the start. Once I unlocked the unlimited fast travel, the pace of my gameplay increased drastically, and I was able to get through the game a lot quicker. Making fast travel a consumable just slows down the pace and is a waste of time in my opinion. So I think unlimited fast travel is necessary. And I will point out that hardcore RPG fans may be turned off by how arcadey the RPG and crafting mechanics are. Personally, I don't mind it. I actually like the fact that it's not very dense as an RPG, especially when I have other RPGs to grind like The Witcher 3. But if you do prefer more intricate and dense RPGs, you may want to look elsewhere. Look, overall, I think Horizon Zero Dawn is a great gameplay experience with a beautiful world to explore, with great in-game animations, fluid and intuitive controls, excellent combat, a charming protagonist, and overall I just think the game has great game design. And I think a lot of the game's flaws can easily be fixed in the sequel. And in my opinion, Horizon Zero Dawn is not only one of the best open world games, but one of the best games of this decade. Anyway, that's everything I have to say about Horizon Zero Dawn. Please let me know what you guys think. Do you think Horizon Zero Dawn is a great game? Do you think it's overrated? What do you think they could do in the sequel to make it better? Let me know in the comments section, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm Emre from High Ground, signing out.